All right, hello and welcome back to Selling Frankston. Guys, we've got a very special guest, Australian journalist, TV presenter, author, and a handy footballer once upon a time, Paul Kennedy. How you doing?
G'day, gentlemen. How are you?
PK.
Good to be here. What a setup.
Thanks for coming on, mate.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Mate,
As you know, Juan, I don't do much, so
oh, yeah.
I'm always available.
Always available. Well, mate, we always love unpacking stuff on a Friday. Always having a trusty coffee. Mate, just quickly wanted to say the book, Funkytown. Tell us a bit of how did that originate?
Are you still giving a free copy of Funkytown to people that buy
Well,
a house?
yes. Well, we actually pay for it.
Yeah.
You have to pay for it. I wish I were free.
Yeah, not free for you.
No, but we are giving them. You know, it's interesting. We've had so much good feedback on this.
Yeah.
Would love to sort of get an idea. Where did you originate? How did this book come about?
I always wanted to write about my time in Frankston growing up.
Yep.
So, yeah, I just thought about it over the years and eventually I got around to it. It took me a long time to do it. I'd never written a memoir before.
Yep.
I've written non-fiction books, but not in that memoir, so which is quite difficult to be able to put yourself out there like that. But, I just sort of have a go. I haven't really seen too many books from people who grew up in the suburbs in that time like we did.
Yep.
And, there's a lot to talk about, boys becoming men.
Yep.
The insecurities of being a young guy trying to find your way.
Yep.
There's a couple of books that I read over the years that have done that, probably more American books. And there's, some great sort of memoirs, I guess, over the years as well in Australia. But I just thought for that time and place, I had a story, I would write it. I didn't write it with a contract to write for a book or anything. Usually with non-fiction books, you get the contract and you write it. But I just wrote it. And then it ended up good, and then I put you in it, and then
oh geez, mate, you threw me under the bus a bit.
It's so funny, the amount of people that come up and mention it. Like we give obviously in our settlement packs, and the amount of people that actually go through, read it, and then go, "I didn't know your dad was famous." Like,
I do get the old you were a ladies' man back in the day, but no, appreciate it.
A lot of the people I put in the book, I gave them the opportunity to change their name if they wanted to, and you didn't want to.
So you're telling me he took the full name ability. He wanted naming rights to the.
I actually remember you. I remember that day you called me and you actually said, "Wayne, doing a book. I want to put your. There's a few of the boys. Just want to know if I can have your name." And I just was like, "Yeah, mate, like happy to do it." And then I said, "Just quickly, is this an R-rated or a PG version of the events?" But no, it was well constructed, I must say.
Thanks, mate.
What I really, it's interesting because in that time as young men growing up in a time where you had a serial killer running around. I remember people failed to remember that.
Yeah.
It was a pretty eerie time, but I've had so many comments from people that read your book and they said it actually felt like they went back in time and in that particular time in that space. And it was quite it showed Frankston, but it also highlighted some really good things about it as well.
Yeah, well, anyone that grows up in Frankston knows that it's a good place to be. I guess growing up anywhere, you've got your challenges. We had challenges. That was a really difficult time for anyone in Frankston because of the crime that was there with, the killer was on the loose.
Yeah.
So that was an unusual time, but any time really, the challenges around Frankston are well documented, but it's always a great place to grow up. So people have fond memories of being here.
Definitely.
A lot of the people that I know have never really moved away, and that's something as well. Living beside the beach and just feeling like you're in a really good place. So, people have fond memories of growing up. They've also got those memories of anxiety. When you read about my anxieties, the biggest the most pleasing feedback that I've got from people is that they read the book and they feel like I was writing about them.
Yeah.
And it's not just Frankston people.
Yeah.
I had people.
That's great.
And not just men. I had feedback from women who said it felt like had a woman from a country town a long way away from Frankston that said she was doing ballet at the time. She was a dancer, and she felt like I was writing about her life. It's just the decisions you have to make.
Yeah.
When you're sort of 16, 17, 18. So that was good. People felt connected to the story, and that's because of the universal themes of trying to find you. Who am I?
Yeah.
And it happens at any age too. People confront those questions about who am I? What am I doing? What am I meant to be doing? What's my path? But when you're 17, everything's so vivid. So my memories are pretty clear.
No, it's how you unpack it. It really is a great story, and you narrate it very well, and you're very how you do that. I must say, look, there is certainly a stigma attached to Frankston, and certainly I've noticed the last probably few years we've seen it sort of lift a little bit. With you talk to people that if you're at a work do, you could say they'll say, "Oh, where you live," and there's a lot of people that will say, "I live on the Mornington Peninsula."
Yeah,
they won't mention Frankston because if you drop the word Frankston, automatically there's this stigma attached to, oh, you live there. I hear the train station's a good place to be, But the great thing is, and one of the things that I look at in the book, I loved how you spoke about how vulnerable you were at a young age. And I mean, we all, and interesting, I was right next to you. I never saw that vulnerability ever because you had this bravado of, and I think a lot of us have that sometimes. Like I know for me, like people will say to me, you're an auctioneer. And I'll say to people straight up, when I go to do an auction, I sometimes, because I've frozen in public speaking before, it traumatized me.
Yeah.
So every time I go out, I'm always in the back of my mind fearful, but people go, oh, you make it look so easy. But deep down, I'm like a duck, like on the outside, it looks smooth, but underneath I'm paddling away. And I think as young men growing up, a lot of people have that, and I love how you wrote about it. It was quite a,
Have you talked much about your fear of public speaking?
No, I haven't. No.
It's a great story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was.
Yeah, I really admire it. I never saw any of your insecurities either, I guess, because we didn't talk about it. But we all wanted to, have people think that we were sort of tough guys who are ready to take on the world. Rarely is that the case.
Yep.
But I think you should talk more about that. That would resonate in the same way with people a lot like Funkytown, because I'm sure so many people are scared witless about speaking in public, and you do it for a living and force yourself to do it.
Yeah,
Josh, you've seen how nervous your dad.
Oh, without doubt. For auctions, he does his little panic walk. Yeah, he does the anxiety walk, I call it. But it's how you cope and you get along with it. Like it's pretty impressive because I couldn't imagine calling an auction day in, day out, 2 or 3 in one day, or getting up and doing it at a community function. Like, very gutsy.
But we were all pretty lost back then. It was 17, 18.
Yep.
You're supposed to work things out at that age, but we didn't. We were all in our own way. We were all just sort of like the ducks.
Well, it was funny. I look back and when I was year 11, you year 12, and it was great times. Like I had it was great playing footy. I remember at that time you were playing at Stingrays, and look, the year before that we played in the 17s, and you won the league BNF, and mate, you're a rock of Gibraltar. It's an halfback. In terms of growing up, like playing football wise, and getting back to footy, were you always an halfback or were you a midfielder?
No, I was probably half back through my juniors.
Yep.
We chopped and changed with different teams through Seaford juniors. But half back, I was always pretty comfortable at half back. And then I played, as you said, that year at centre half back for the Seaford under 17s. Yep. When I went to the Stingrays, it was just a bit short to play against the big centre half forwards. I just slid onto half back. Yep. And then years later, when I started to sort of mid-20s, I guess, when I played a bit at Mount Gravatt, and up in Queensland,
Danny Craven was the coach.
On ball. Yeah, Craven. Danny Craven, one of the best, probably the best coach I ever had. Actually, looking back,
fantastic.
But
ex-St Kilda player.
Yeah, the
number
ex-Saint,
14.
Danny Craven. Yeah, he was a good player and good Wang boy too. Came from Wangaratta.
Okay,
just a great coach. You know,
good educator.
I don't know. You probably had one or two through.
Yeah,
definitely.
Play
footy for 15 years. You look back, you think maybe one or two good coaches. Not like expert coaches. And Craven was that. So I was sort of playing a little bit of midfield at that time. But even at VFL level, I was never good enough to play in the midfield. Hold down a midfield spot. I was more a halfback.
But you certainly, when you went to Stingrays, and for those people, I mean, that's the highest level before you get to AFL. So you've come from playing local footy to then having that professionalism.
Yeah.
You're gifted clearly. I know you love going to the gym. We used to love going to the gym.
Yeah, we went to the gym flat out back then. Unfortunately, we didn't do any leg weights.
I was going to say, always.
That's rubbed off on me, I guess, that mentality. Is that,
is
that what you're saying?
You've got a bit more advice these days, Josh. Yeah, I never did any leg
we
weights.
We never did legs. It was just upper body.
We just tried to lift it.
Did you do any abs? Sorry to cut you short.
No, nothing. No.
I did abs.
That's all right. Didn't hurt me. I had about 6 years of soft tissue injuries after that.
Yeah, it was certainly having the full body. But going up to Stingrays, I saw, you got selected in the Vic Metro. Was it Vic
I was
Metro?
in the squad. I never played. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. But still, there's a lot of talent that, AFL players that got drafted in that list. So who were the type of players that you were?
Our best player in that year was clearly Shane Smith.
Yep.
He was a star.
Yep.
He kicked 12 in a final. We lost
Jeez.
to the Geelong Falcons at the MCG.
Wow.
There were other. I mean, Jeff White was in that team. He was just a baby of the team, but then went number one.
Yep.
And other guys that I just bump into over the years that I remember how good they were. Brett Anthony was a really good midfielder for us.
Yep.
Even Matty Joy, who ended up getting
Chelsea boy
drafted.
Him and Jeff were the same sort of.
They were the same age.
age.
So they played till Vic Metro Country.
Yeah, I think they both got all Australian a few years later. But
And Matty Joy's nephew goes to school with my son now. So
oh, really?
It's funny you go through and meet all these people. I know Adam White's daughter plays at the Stingrays, or played at the Stingrays last year. You sort of bump into all these players and then remember how good they were. Scratcher Lilnors was a really good player back then, and one of our leaders. My captain was Ben Delarue.
Oh, yeah.
He was probably one of the best captains I've ever seen.
He was a hard nose.
He just did everything right.
Yeah.
And he was a guy I admired, looked up to.
Yep.
Played on the halfback with me, and his son went through the Stingrays as well. So he's one of those father sons.
Yeah. And right now you've got your middle son, because you've got 3 boys.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to get to. I know one of the reasons. I remember asking you. I said, when you wrote Funkytown, I said, what are you looking to achieve out of this? And you actually said, I've got 3 young boys.
Yeah.
I really want them to see, what life can, don't make the same mistakes as what.
It sounds like you were very vulnerable in the book.
Yeah, I was just honest, I guess.
Honest,
just honest. But actually, I wrote it when they were young teenagers.
Yeah.
I wouldn't write it at the same age now.
Yeah.
While they're at the same age now, like late teens, I probably wouldn't want to embarrass them. But I'm glad I did. So Jack's 19 now.
Yep.
He's really doing.
He's kicking on
super well. Yeah,
he's he's got his great car service. If you love your Seaford Shine, Seaford Shine. If you need a car, his detailing is amazing.
Have you got any sponsors of the podcast?
No, we don't.
We'll plug him for this.
But we'll give him a plug for that.
We'll give him a plug.
So Jack's literally started his own business. He's a great budding entrepreneur.
Yeah.
He's studying architecture at university.
Wow.
He's a adventurous young guy
he had a stint. When we did, I think we had 3 auctions on one day, and Jack came and did a bit of work experience. Yeah. And mate, he one thing I loved about him was just he just jumped in. He didn't care.
Yeah.
And and reminded me a lot of you as a young guy. Like you just were like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
But his enthusiasm to just want to, learn is really pleasing.
He is fearless. He'll go and door knock businesses and hand out his business card,
brilliant.
and that's how he's built his business.
And he's only
from
19
scratch.
years of age. That's a great lesson for me.
Has he taken that from you, PK? Because I know Dad said you were very fearless in your approach when you were a lot younger.
Yeah, I think he's better than me. I would never have door knocked people and promoted myself.
Well, we were labouring a fair bit with.
Yeah, we were labourers for the generous local tradies who put us on and pay us $50 a day.
Yeah, $50 a day.
I was good with a broom, Josh, back then. But yeah,
Mate,
I was okay with journalism. I would put myself forward, but
these calluses are still from those days, from digging those holes for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I realised someone asked.
Did you last 2 weeks?
I lasted 2 weeks and then said, "Yep, see you later. I'm not coming back." But I had 28 jobs, so it was interesting as a young fella. 28. So someone said to me, "Oh, did you ever want to get into real estate?" I said, "Well, to be honest, at age 17, even 18, I had no idea what I wanted to be." And it's really, really hard to sort of, everyone has this expectation. I had mates that said, I'm going to be a physio. What, people want to be accountants, etc. I just had no idea.
Yeah.
And that was hard because you sort of, I think back then, luckily social media wasn't around because I think you're always comparing yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Back then, you really were sheltered. You didn't know what was really going on unless it was in the paper, and you had to pick the paper up to what If you didn't want to read it, you didn't have to.
Yeah.
But now, I find it interesting. I have some of the kids that I coach, and they've said to me, I don't know what I want to be, and I'm like, that's okay, mate. Don't stress.
Yeah.
Your life's ahead of you.
Yeah.
And the best is yet to come, but play to your strengths.
Yeah, I was a bit the same. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but sort of when I realised I was never going to play AFL, then I headed towards journalism. But that was because of a teacher that I mentioned in the book as well, Mrs. Mack, who really sort of saw me struggling, but also saw that I liked reading and writing, and she pushed me towards doing a cadetship. Which I eventually did with a local newspaper. And
Paul Amy, the famous Paul Amy.
Paul Amy was my...
What a ripper bloke he was.
Well, this is the thing, you have these lucky turns in your life. One of my luckiest turns was when I went to have a cadetship at Leader Newspapers. Tom Wiles was my editor, who was just very generous to put me on. Having done a copy kid sort of stretch at the Herald Sun for 12 months. And then who do I sit next to? Paul Amy.
Wow.
As anyone in the local area would know from following local sports, he really is one of the best sports journalists or journalists flat out in Australia. And I've been in the game 32 years now. And but like what I said with Danny Craven, you just know that these people are the best at what they do. He was a young guy then too, but just he was so good and such a great mentor for me. That we're still good friends, and
it's great.
And he taught me everything I knew in those first couple of years of being a journalist.
How important is having a mentor? Because it sounds like with Mrs. Mack, it sounds like you've had some very pivotal movements and
I was
people.
Pretty good.
Influence.
Like I had my mum and dad, Josh. So I was lucky from the start. But then I guess I was probably pretty good at looking for people that I could learn from. So I probably never called them mentors back then, but I had Paul Amy, and then when I changed an office, I had a woman called Peter Tomlinson. When I worked at the Mornington Bureau of Leader Newspapers. Once again, just lucky. Peter was the chief reporter, but she was really just the captain coach of that newspaper.
Wow.
Back when that was a really big newspaper too. I remember doing stories about the urban sprawl, being across sort of Mount Martha. One of those stories we were doing were the Main Street Mornington traders were dead set saying this, we'll never have a supermarket in town. You go to Mornington now, it's all changed. But
it's all changed,
That was in the late 90s.
Wow.
There were some huge stories. Peter Tomlinson was just such a great mentor. And when I decided to try out TV and go to Channel 10, it was Peter who really pushed me. She said, "You'll be okay." I was questioning myself. She said, "You'll be okay. When have you done something and it's not worked out okay?" So I remember Peter. And then every step of the way. I had a good boss at Channel 10. And
Who was your boss at Channel 10 when you were there?
There's a guy called John Wiseman who put me on.
Yep.
Because I went from Mornington leader to Channel 10 in Brisbane and worked on the Sunshine Coast.
So you worked on the Sunshine Coast.
Yeah, John Wiseman
Wow.
put me on there. He was a bit like Tom Wiles from the leader newspapers.
Yep.
Just put trust in me and
That's awesome.
encouraged me. And
Yep. And you had a couple of years up there
yeah, I had 2.5 years in Queensland.
Yep.
And really enjoyed that. The news beat up there, and then came back to Melbourne and worked in the Melbourne Channel 10 newsroom for about 4 years.
Yep.
And that was a good time as well. Really busy. That was when the Underworld War was on.
Oh wow! So you would have been covering a fair bit of stuff there.
Yeah, I used to get the phone calls. Someone else has been shot. I remember going out to a place not far from Chadstone there, where I was standing on the street and going, what the hell? Oh, someone's got shot at the Red Rooster there. And
jeez,
the news comes through pretty quick. Yep, this is another payback for the Underworld War. We covered all the funerals as well.
Incredible.
Went to the funeral there where the little kids were throwing eggs and golf balls at us, and because they hated the media. But at the same time, they were really playing the media.
They're milking
different factions of the Underworld War. So that was through that time, and there was bushfires, and we used to fly in helicopters all over the place.
Wow.
I enjoyed my time at Channel 10. It was good.
And then you went to Channel 9, didn't you? After that,
very briefly. So I went to ABC from Channel 10, and then I went to Channel 9 for a year.
Okay.
Kim was pregnant with our second child, which is Gus, and at that point, I had to stop knocking back the occasional offer to go back to commercial.
Back to commercial, yeah.
So I went to Channel 9 for a year. Really liked Channel 9, but loved working with the people there.
Yep.
But then after that, I moved back to the ABC full time, and then ended up pretty soon. I was on the breakfast show where people might know me from. Yeah.
A lot of people know the ABC breakfast show, and I remember so many people would say, I saw BK. And I think there was that time where you covered, you went to the Olympics in Brazil.
We did Rio. That was good fun.
Rio and a few other things.
Glasgow Commonwealth Games. They were good trips. And working for the breakfast show was really good. Yep. The reason I took the breakfast show job was because it was sport, but it was Monday to Friday. So as you know, I never wanted to give up coaching.
Yeah.
So I always look for a Monday to Friday job, and then the early hours, getting up at 3:30 and heading into work and being home in the early arvo allowed me to see all the kids when the three boys when they were growing up.
And you were coaching the seniors. How many years in coaching?
I did 5. I've coached for 24 years now.
Yeah, wow.
I started at Seaford when I was 26, turning 27.
Yep.
Coached the seniors for quite a few years, and then moved to the juniors when the boys got old enough, and
you
did a bit of school footy. And
you changed the history in a lot of ways at Seaford. I remember I remember giving you a call. I think it was a prelim before.
Yeah,
I think you know where I'm going to go with this one. But there was you're playing in the prelim, and I was giving you a call to just say, "Hey, mate, wishing you all the best." And you said, "Mate, we've lost a few blokes. They got busted in a drug raid."
That was my first year of coaching.
That's a pretty good that's been thrown in the deep end there. But you turned that club around in a lot of ways.
We had a good period, and it wasn't just me. It was great people like Kev Goodall, my brother.
Yep.
Played a big part. Everyone who was at the club helped sort of begin that successful phase at Seaford. It was just a good time. I was in my late 20s. I never really wanted to be coached, but then I was there, and then I realised that I love coaching more than playing.
Yeah, wow.
Really?
Yeah.
No, that's wrong. I did enjoy playing more than coaching, but I was a better coach than I was a player.
I think you're underselling yourself there. I think you were fantastic fantastic leader and fearless, and that's
I love playing coach.
I
say to anyone, and I have anyone in the local footy MPNFL, if you're good enough or you've got enough resources to be a playing coach,
do it.
I think it's the best thing you can do.
Yeah.
I never played at the highest level. I would have, probably traded it for that. But to be a playing coach, you turn up, you got your bag on your shoulder, you turn up, you arrive, and you can have a huge say on the mood of that whole place.
Absolutely.
And how it runs for the day. and then you cop the losses, which are okay. Some of my favourite memories are losing grand finals, like on losing finals, because you give it your all and come up a bit short, but everyone sort of you go away from that, and in the hours after that, you start plotting. All right, what are we going to do to get better?
Yep,
it's good. I love
that. That was one thing I must say, and that's something you're always striving to be better, and with the football in particular, I noticed that.
Well, you played in that grand final against Beaconsfield, right? So
that's
the one I'm talking about. We lost to Granny to Beaconsfield, probably a 15-goal better team than us. They flogged us a couple of weeks before.
Yep.
But what did we lose that grand final by? 4 or 5 goals, something.
It was
like
actually
that.
19 points in the end. It actually felt a lot bigger, the margin, but it was actually it was a lot less. But
they were a good team.
They were a very good team.
We had kids. Yeah. You played full forward, held up the forward line against a super back line. Beaconsfield's back line was phenomenal. And then, we had those kids. We had Benny Cadd wasn't a kid, but he was amazing. Paddy Cadd. Chrissy Irving was probably 16, 17.
17, he was coming on, and, was just, electric.
Just fun.
It was good fun. Yeah. So there's certainly a lot.
I want to turn the podcast into an old football heads podcast.
you could do it.
We could do that. That could be another segment. But yeah, look, I think getting back, and I think getting back to the book. I know you've done another book that was quite influential in the landscape of politics.
Yeah.
And there was actually what was it? A Royal Commission.
Yeah, so Hell on the Way to Heaven I wrote with Chrissy Foster.
Yeah.
Long time ago now.
How long ago was that?
Well, it came out in 2010.
Wow.
We wrote it in 2009, well before the Royal Commission.
Yeah.
But that was about abuse in the Catholic Church, abuse of children.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Julia Gillard following that, and great work from other people around Australia.
It
wasn't just Chrissy, although I do think without Chrissy Foster, they wouldn't have achieved that.
Yeah.
But
it was interesting because I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, there was how you were a reporter. Was it at Channel 9 or Channel 10?
I was, when I took up that story.
Because if you want to tell the viewers how you got selected, because I remember you had the general manager came out and said, who's Catholic, and there was you and a lady that were an atheist?
I don't remember that.
And that's how you got put on the job?
No. Originally, the original story, it just happened to be that I was an atheist, which and brought up without religion.
Yeah.
So no influence of religious background, which was good as I got through the story, because I was able to see quite clearly the injustices of everything, and I wasn't shackled by any sort of thing that I was taught when I was a kid. But no, originally it was a guy who rang me up and said, I was 21 years old, as a cadet. Paul Amy was sort of sitting next to me, and someone said, you need to get down to the church in Oakley. There's a parents' meeting out in the back room, Tuesday night or whatever it was. He wouldn't tell me what it was, but I turned up.
So you got a lead to go there to report on that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. You've got to turn up here, said the guy on the phone.
Was there any other media there at the time?
No, it was nothing. It was just like, you've got to turn up here. So I turned up, and then it was a group of people sitting around a table like this, and they were parents, local concerned parents, who had sent their kids to this local Catholic school, where the priest, who was the boss of the school, as that was the setup back then, the priest who used to run the school, he'd been jailed for sex crimes. So the parents were having a meeting. What are we going to do about this? And they were still learning about, the catastrophic consequences of having that
what
guy.
happened. Yeah, wow.
And learning about his history. He'd been an offender for some 50 years, and then the church had kept him on all that time and moved him around. So, and people know the broader story. But that's how it started. And then 12 years later, I was at Channel 9. Yep. And Chrissy and Anthony Foster's daughter Emma died by suicide, and she was a victim. And so I covered her funeral for Channel 9. I'm grateful Channel 9 let me do that as well. That was one of the lead stories on the news. And then from that, Chrissy and I wrote that book, How Long Way to Heaven, and the rest is history. I think Chrissy and Anthony really helped change everything.
Absolutely,
And for people who think it doesn't concern them, every time you go through, junior sport or anything where there's child protection policies now, that's been really improved in the last 15 years.
Working with children and all that,
It wasn't just the Catholic Church, as we know. It was a lot of abuse. A lot of abuse is at home, but there was so much abuse in institutions, and that's what the Royal Commission looked at. All different, not all, but a lot of institutions who used to run their own race. They used to have their own rules, and now they have to comply with child safety rules.
And that's great. And I remember, that book certainly, there was a lot of people that when that book came out, it was quite confronting. Having read it, and I remember I asked you a question at that time when you were going through it. How do you debrief, or how do you and you? I remember, you were right in the thick of it, so you would hear stories and see stuff, and and I remember
that'd be really heavy.
Yeah, it was heavy.
Yeah, my kids were really young, and I don't remember. I didn't have any trauma through that experience because I was so inspired by what Chrissy and Anthony were doing, and I was just doing my job. So for the viewers out, like for those who don't know, they were given they were going to sign their integrity stood way above. They didn't take a pay. Weren't they offered a pay? Yeah, so George Pell was the Archbishop of Melbourne, and he came up with a scheme whereby if people came forward and were abused, they would get a cash payment.
Yep.
And the church would make them sign documents so that they would have to forego any future legal recourse. And
it's like a non-disclosure agreement where,
and then they weren't allowed to talk about it, and they'd get a cash payment. And some people were getting, for horrendous abuse, some people were getting $20,000. Half would go to the lawyers, and they'd end up with virtually nothing. And so that really, for the church, restricted their liability.
Yep.
And then they offered Chrissy and Anthony's two daughters who were abused that same pay, and then the Fosters said no, we're not going to do that, and they pursued it through the courts. But really, their strength was in their advocacy for other people, and then the local people in Oakley certainly, and then other people beyond that.
It just spread like wildfire. How much momentum it gained, and
that was wrong. That was just wrong, and the Victorian government let it happen. To set up a scheme like that in 1996, it was just it was terrible. And that re-traumatized people. Who had been abused and had their lives ruined. This was another way of traumatizing them. So.
I actually had an employee at the time whose father-in-law had a nervous breakdown after all of that coming out because he'd suppressed it. He'd been a victim of what had happened. I think it was in the Ballarat region where one of the priests had been, they just moved the priests, around, and one of the well-known pedophile priests had actually, done some things to this guy, and he'd never dealt with it. And he was in his, professional flying along, and then full nervous breakdown. And look, it brought back, the
Royal Commission found that there was, they interviewed experts and took testimony, and they found that the average time span for a survivor of sexual assault to disclose is something like 22, 23 years.
Jeez.
That's the average. So of course it takes a long time for people to find what they need to come and speak about it. Because, and through, particularly through the Catholic Church, there's a lot of threats to these people who are being indoctrinated through that religion, through its processes of confession and everything. There's a lot of guilt, shame, telling the children it's their fault. It's pretty stuff.
It was pretty heavy,
People can't carry that around. That wasn't right. And for me to be a non-religious person, I had absolute clarity from day one of wow, look at what's happening here. This is
It's
not
black
right.
and white, yeah.
So it was
Well, you
easier
definitely
for me.
You definitely shone the light, and to the Fosters, that was courageous of what they did, and it was look.
It still is,
It still is, yeah.
Anthony has died.
Yep.
Which we will be saddened about forever, but Chrissy's still there.
Yep.
Supported by her 95-year-old mother.
Oh wow!
Just an amazing family.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome.
Just back to when the book was done. Obviously, Frankston was a very different time back then.
Yeah.
What's the biggest shift you've seen since? Because Frankston's now getting a bit of a good stigma, which is good to see. What's your most positive?
What's different? What do you think, Warren?
Well,
I know you're asking me. I'm buying time.
you're
Oh, no, I could see. I'll put you on the spot.
All right. So I don't think Frankston is much different to when I was growing up.
Yeah.
I see, differences here and there, but I always thought it was a beautiful place to grow up.
Yep.
I always saw the beauty in it.
Yeah.
I always saw, and I see people are struggling in Frankston. There's no doubt that we've got some disadvantage. That's not me. I never experienced any disadvantage. I was lucky to grow up in Seaford in a beautiful housing estate, and I still live in beautiful Seaford. And that's not me just sort of ignoring the criticisms of Frankston or ignoring the hardships of people. I just think I've always thought it was a great place.
Yeah.
So I see them, in them. I don't know. It's probably a real estate thing, which you guys know more about. I see them building stuff.
Yeah.
I see the footy lights. We probably don't need the size of those footy lights.
Those lights. I tell you what. Frankston.
We're meant to be selling. We're meant to be selling PK, not.
Hey, mate, I'm the truth colour. I've never seen those lights on fully.
Oh, mate, they are lit up like you can see when you go down Oliver's Hill. It's like a beacon. It's like a UFO.
Half the lights.
It's like a massive UFO.
So I reckon that little precinct there is great.
Yeah.
They've got the building behind it where the people
Horizon.
live now.
Yeah.
What's that called?
Horizon. Yep.
That looks good. Honestly, I've all my life I've I pay attention to people that say that you don't want to overdevelop Frankston, and I agree with that. But in the same token, I don't like that you drive along the Pearl Highway and you got so many
empty shops
and all that sort of stuff. So we need development.
Yeah, I think that's something that is certainly changing the face. One of the best things is the food. The cafes we're seeing now Sporting Globe who's come in, and you can go down and watch the cricket or the football, and it's such a great environment.
That's a good point. I reckon there's so many more places. That's probably a shift. We used to go to Rugantino's back in the day.
Well,
Mum and Dad loved Rugantino's.
Mate, that was when you went to Rugantino's. It was like it wasn't. How some families they'll go once or twice a week.
Yeah.
Back in our day, if you went there once every 3 months, you've done well.
Yeah, true.
It was a special occasion.
Yeah, it was a big time. I think Mum and Dad, used to go to Rugantino's when we were teenagers. Just to, it's probably cheaper just to have them too, and we could stay at home. But Lingua used to be our favourite Chinese restaurant. We went there on birthdays.
That was a beauty.
And the cinemas, we're good back. We're rebuilding that area now, but.
Because you had the two. You had one on the beach side of the Pearl Highway, and they've knocked that down.
Yeah.
But then where the Quest apartments were, there was the cinemas there.
Yeah.
As well.
They had the old pancake parlour as well. That would be going well if it was around now versus it was going about 15 years back.
Hey, that was a good setup in there.
Yeah, there was an Irish pub along that stretch. What was that called?
That was it wasn't Flanagan. No.
I thought you were going to look at me. I'm like, I wasn't.
No, I know the Irish pub. The great thing about, I don't know if you know this.
But I reckon the big change, this is a concrete big change. There's a lot more choice now.
Yeah.
There's so many good cafes and restaurants. That, you could go and try a different place every week and not cover them all in a couple of years.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Seriously, yeah. So that is a big change, Josh. Now that your dad mentions the food scene's pretty cool in Frankston.
Yeah. And I think now they've also got, general public that's opened up, and you've got such entertainment for the kids. If you've got young kids, you can go down there. And then you've got the hop shop where the parents we'll jump in there and have a few
Op
beers.
Shop's good.
Op Shop's good, and but it's interesting in Frankston. It's the only place. There's not many places in Melbourne that has four pubs on four corners.
Yeah.
So you got the Pier, Cheeky Squire, the Deck, and the Grand.
The pubs are going all right, aren't they?
Pubs are going all right.
Still getting bands in at the Pier?
Yeah, they are. They are getting
Who's
bands.
the sponsor? We've got a sponsor.
We should get
Funkytown by Paul Kidney.
Funkytown by Paul Kidney.
It's not the Grand Hotel, is it?
No.
That's in the book.
I know it's in the Grand. Yeah. There was some very good memories there. So,
Uncle Vic's.
Uncle Vic's. Yep, that was always good on the
Fish
way
and
out.
chip shop. Yeah. No. It's I noticed in the last couple of years, Frankston's just different stuff's bobbing up.
Definitely.
I think it's cool. I always like to go and find a good, nice coffee, and there's always good coffee around the place. So.
Yep.
Right, Paul, what's next for you? What's the next adventure?
Well, I'm still working at the ABC. People ask me what I'm doing, but I've just had a documentary series come out called Play On ABC iView. So people can stream that, and released another documentary called Playing on a Prayer, which is about Adam Swade and Hassel Ajkar, who got drafted at the end of last year. So
awesome.
Yeah. And
And
I've just taken
one's
a
at
couple.
Essendon and one's at
Yeah,
Freeman.
Huss went to Essendon. Adam Swade went to Freo. I'm told he went okay last week in the Waffle. So check out those stories. But the Play On series is pretty cool. And one of the stories, I mean, there's so many good stories, but one of them was actually in the city of Frankston. It was the Southern District Rugby Club, which is based in Seaford. You know,
Yeah.
Riviera Park.
Yeah, the River Park. Yep.
Got saved by a Fijian community. A whole bunch of players through the Palm Workers Scheme
Oh wow.
decided to come down to Southern Districts, and they made it all the way to the grand final last year, and we filmed it all. So
Fantastic.
that was cool.
That's awesome.
So that's probably the other change in Frankston is we're getting different. We're getting more multiculturalism,
Yeah.
which we never had growing up. You know, the background of the development of the area with the 10-pound poms and everything. We're pretty sort of
Anglo-Saxon. There.
British, you know, really our area, but lots of different cultures, and that was good. So, so to answer your question, Josh, I've just had a couple of weeks break after those docos landed, and getting back into work at the ABC and looking for different projects.
Lovely.
Beautiful. Where do they pick up a copy of this, aside from getting it from us if they buy a house?
Yeah. That's if you buy a house off Juan and Josh,
You'll get a book.
you'll get a book for free. You won't have to pay for
You won't have to pay for it
it.
because
You can buy them online, and
you can either listen to your voice,
you can do the audio book.
the audio book. How long did that take to read?
Audio
out?
book's hard.
I was going to say
really hard.
Really, because it's
Because it's more like acting than
yeah.
news reading, you know. So I'm quite capable at news reading now. But then when I went to read the book, I would make a mistake virtually every sentence.
Wow.
I was a very patient
Editor?
audio guy that recorded the voice.
Was he just sitting there going,
Yeah, because that's what you're making mistakes over and over again. You're like, I've written this book.
You've written
I can't read it properly. And you'd look through the glass and go, oh,
sorry, mate, sorry.
Yeah, I think he's just scrolling.
He's just looking at his time going,
I've recorded.
I reckon he was. When did you do it last for the audio?
Yeah, a couple of years ago.
I reckon AI would have completely shifted that. I reckon he would have been able to go beep, 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 get the emotion.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
Yeah,
AI in
very
the last
different.
couple of years changed a lot.
has that affected your industry where you're working at the moment?
I'm sure it is affecting our industry at some level, but definitely, but not in my
Not in yours.
my circumstances.
Because, I mean, you're going out interviewing, being on the ground,
recording interviews, writing our own stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I think the next book I write will be helped by AI purely on the research. You know, they say old people still use AI like a sort of Google or a search engine, but the collation of research that I would spend hours and hours and hours going through old newspapers on Trove.
they can scrape it all.
I reckon AI would be much better at that.
Yeah.
So probably save time with research, but I'm not going to write a book with AI.
Yeah.
It writes absolute rubbish.
I was going to say one thing people may not know is that you were a handy cricketer back in the day.
Yeah, just a slogger,
I witnessed a few.
a slogger. Yeah,
I remember we were at Seaford, Miles, the oval there.
Yeah.
And was sitting back and you smashed a few balls onto the train tracks.
Yeah, that was pretty easy. Train tracks were close to the pitch.
But you were like, we were just in awe going, how's this guy going?
Yeah.
I think you hit a pretty quick 50 in quick succession.
Well, the old Seaford ground, you could hit the train tracks was one prize on that way, but from the other end you could try and hit it over the grandstand.
There was
which I only ever did once.
I wasn't there for that one, but I did witness quite a few times you smacking them into the and it was
probably the end of my cricket hopes. Really, probably turned me into just a rubbish slogger because those hits at Seaford they're short boundaries, square of the wicket. Basically, just makes you hit across the line. So if you ever had a proper umpire, just hit on the pads and get out there. It's no good for the technique.
No good.
I probably should have played baseball.
Well, your last game you played with your son, which was quite eventful, wasn't it?
A
couple of years back.
Were you talk about that?
You were having well, mate. It's interesting because we've spoken about
PK obviously doesn't want to talk about it.
we've spoken about football, and when you're playing at a high level, and you know the amount of injuries that you could do on a football field, you never did what you did.
No, nothing like it. So I went for a catch playing for Carrum.
And Gus was playing as well?
Gus was playing, yeah. Yep. So, and then it was just an innocuous sort of thing, really. But I landed on my back when I took the catch and then spent...
So you took the catch?
Took the catch on my chest.
On your...
could have just stood up and then caught it, but for some reason I jumped backwards, landed on my back, obliterated my spleen and broke my ribs and punctured my lungs.
So you were a bit like Rick Disney. Good old Rick Disney.
Very much.
But you
from the 12th man, what was that?
Yeah, it was the 12th man.
Yeah. So I was on that night. I almost died. I needed a blood transfusion. I was bleeding internally.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I was in the ambulance on the way to the Alfred Hospital, and the ambulance guy looked at my injuries and goes, were you involved in a car accident? I said, no, cricket accident.
Look, life can, I remember trying to get a hold of you, and I was like, usually I'll call you and, get a call back within 24 hours, and it was at stage there, and I was starting to get worried, and I was like, hadn't heard anything. I rang General. He said, mate, look, PK was playing cricket, and of all things, and he's in the ICU.
I had to have some emergency operations. I was in ICU for quite a while, and then I was in the trauma ward at the Alfred Hospital for a couple of weeks.
I remember like how rocked you were, because look, who would have thought you've played football for senior? You played 20 plus years of senior footy. Yep. Never ever did you have an injury as bad as that.
No,
we can joke about it now. I remember
that was insane. Yeah, you picked me up. You thought I was close to death. But they found, when they did all the scans and that, they found a tumour in me as well. So I'm happy to talk about that. But when I was in hospital, they found a tumour. And so then I had to recover from one set of injuries to then get strong enough for them to go back in and take out the tumour.
Wow.
So that's been the last 2 years trying to get sort of healthy, basically.
Yep.
And probably one of the things to say about that is who your mates are, and you get to know who the important people in your life are when you're really struggling, and you think you might have come to the end of the road.
Yeah.
And you were one of those, weren't you?
Oh, mate.
I don't want to get too soppy on the podcast, do we?
No.
You looked after me and took me out and didn't tell me how bad I looked.
Oh, mate, look, you didn't. You looked, at first, I must say, I was a little bit shocked because, always, when you've been on the TV, you look at how you were, and at first I was like, geez, there was a bit of a shock, but every week you were getting better.
Yeah,
you're getting better.
Yeah,
and
chipped away.
You just chipped away, and to your credit, we would talk about footy and just life and have a laugh. And
that
I try not to make you laugh too much because you were sort of at one stage there going, I can't.
I could barely tolerate sitting on a chair for a few minutes, let alone laughing at your
silly, stupid. You're.
But you really helped me get through that. I'm really grateful for that. You know that as well. But so when you chip away at those things, who knows what's around the corner?
Yeah.
You're out there on the cricket field, and then
Yeah.
You know,
I've never heard anyone have such a horrific. That's probably the worst cricket.
Yeah.
I mean, you should go and have a chat to, you had a chat to the GOAT, one of the GOATs in Sachin Tendulkar over in India.
Yeah.
You should ask him, hey, have you ever heard of an accident on the cricket field as bad as this? It's probably you'd have the gold medal, I reckon.
Well, for those type of injuries, of course,
Yeah.
Philip Hughes.
Geez, yeah. That's
you
actually,
can get hurt playing cricket, but
and there was
you shouldn't. Well, if you're 49 years old, you shouldn't be taking catches and trying to jump.
Yeah.
At least you took the catch, though.
You took the
gotta
catch.
look-
That's
it was down at Crib Point. The Crib Point guys were taunting me when the ball was in the air. You won't catch that, you weak bastard.
really, so that fire in the belly.
I'm going to take the catch.
Fair enough, and you
I
did.
showed them, didn't I?
You showed him all right, and you won, and the boys won the game. That was amazing.
Yeah. It was just a home and away game.
Yeah. And
I don't know why I
did you
was playing.
drive? Did you drive Gus back home?
I drove Gus back home. I said, you might have to drive home. I was in trouble.
Yeah, wow.
And then I went to bed.
So you went straight, and that's where, it's amazing that you were able to, from Crib Point to your place, it's probably half an hour or so. Sitting upright, it would have been, the pain threshold would have been through the roof.
Yeah.
I've heard.
I was just hoping I was hoping I was bruised or something. But anyway.
Well, mate, it's
Stupid.
been an absolute pleasure having you on. As always, it's always
Thanks.
good
I've always wanted to come on the show.
Yeah, it's good. We'll get you back on, and I'm sure there'll be more things that you can talk about. But look, we love what you've written. We're very passionate about Frankston also, and I think it's definitely changed and evolved. But in my heart, and I know it was great to hear from you saying the same sentiments. Frankston's always been a great place to live.
Well, we grew up here and we're still here. So.
Yeah. Well,
that says it all. Actions speak louder than words.
Yeah. We've raised our kids in the same. All my kids were born in Frankston Hospital. And,
same. And we're big advocates for the area. So, yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on, PK. Much appreciated.
Pleasure. No worries.
Thanks,
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe. Any comments, please leave them. And if you need to pick up a copy of this book, just jump online and we'll drop a link in the comments. See you in the next one.
Done.
That is done.